Love doesn't always begin with words. Sometimes, it begins with a heartbeat. When Max saw the tiny human, he didn't know what to think. He had never seen something so fragile, so small. The parents had just brought their newborn baby home, and their loyal dog Max seemed utterly confused. He took a few steps back, his tail tucked slightly between his legs, his eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. This new person was so different from anyone he had ever met. He didn't run, he didn't throw a ball, he just lay there. The baby let out a soft coo, a tiny sound that barely filled the quiet room. Max's ears perked up. He tilted his head, a silent question in his gentle eyes. He took a hesitant step forward, then another, until he was right beside the crib. He sat down, a big furry sentinel, and just watched, but in seconds, something changed inside him. It was a flicker, a shift in his posture, a deep understanding that seemed to settle over him. He wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a guardian. From that day on, a new routine began. Every morning, long before the sun had fully risen, Max would be there, waiting. He'd lie patiently on the floor, his head resting on his paws, his eyes fixed on the crib. He waited for the first stirrings, the first tiny movements that signaled the baby was waking up. When the baby cried, it was Max who often responded first. He wouldn't bark loudly or aggressively. Instead, he'd let out a soft, low woof, just enough to alert the parents that their little one needed them. He became more than a pet. He became a guardian, a silent protector. He seemed to understand his role instinctively. One afternoon, as the baby kicked his tiny feet in the air, gurgling with delight, Max got up, found his favorite squeaky toy, and gently nudged it into the crib, placing it near the baby's hand. Max didn't understand much about human life, about diapers or feeding schedules, but he understood love. He understood that this small being was now the center of his world, and he would do anything to keep him safe and happy. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. The house was filled with countless little moments that spoke volumes without a single word. You'd find Max sleeping soundly on the rug right next to the crib, his rhythmic breathing a comforting presence in the room. If the baby's hand dangled over the edge, Max would approach carefully, sniffing it with the utmost gentleness, as if checking to make sure everything was all right. It was incredible to watch. The baby, in turn, seemed to recognize his furry friend. His face would light up with a gummy smile whenever Max was near. He'd kick his legs in excitement, his eyes following the big dog around the room. Max was completely devoted. He refused to leave the baby alone, not even for his own meals. The family would be eating dinner, and Max would remain in the living room, a steadfast guard. He watched every breath, every move, every smile. The baby's mother would often laugh and say, "It's like he thinks the baby belongs to him," and in Max's heart, this tiny human was his responsibility, his friend, his everything. One quiet afternoon, danger crept in silently. The mother was busy in the kitchen, preparing dinner, the clatter of pots and pans a familiar, comforting sound. The baby was sleeping peacefully in his crib in the living room. A window had been left slightly ajar to let in the fresh air, but a sudden gust of wind pushed it wide open. The long, heavy curtain billowed inwards and then fell, draping completely over the crib and covering the baby's face. He started to struggle, his little movements muffled by the thick fabric. Danger doesn't always make noise. But Max sensed it. He sprang to his feet, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He ran to the crib, nudging the heavy curtain with his nose. When that didn't work, he grabbed the fabric with his teeth and pulled it away. But the danger wasn't over. In his silent struggle, the baby had gotten tangled in his blanket, and it was now wrapped tightly around his face, restricting his breathing. Max started barking loudly, a frantic, desperate sound he had never made before. The mother heard him and ran into the living room, her heart pounding with fear. Max was not just barking. He was calling for help. She saw the scene and rushed to the crib, lifting her baby into her arms. He coughed and took a deep, shuddering breath. Tears of relief streamed down her face as she hugged her child close, then turned and wrapped her arms around Max, burying her face in his fur. That night, the rules changed. The parents brought Max's bed from the hallway and placed it right beside the crib. There were no more boundaries, no more separation. He had earned his place as the baby's truest guardian. He lay down, resting his head near the baby's tiny, outstretched hand, a silent promise to never let anything happen to him again, to save a life. You don't need wings. Sometimes you only need a loyal heart. As the baby fell into a deep, peaceful sleep, Max watched over him, his eyes soft and full of an unwavering devotion. He had faced a moment of pure instinct, a test of his loyalty, and he had not hesitated, and Max knew he had done something no one else could. He had been the one to sense the silent danger, the one to call for help, the one who had saved the life of his best friend. As the sun rose the next morning, casting a warm golden glow across the room, the baby began to stir. He opened his eyes and saw his big furry friend right beside him. He reached out a tiny hand, his fingers uncurling as they touched Max's soft nose. Max responded with a gentle, loving lick on the baby's hand. Some bonds are chosen. Some bonds are destiny. A delighted laugh escaped the baby's lips, a pure, joyful sound that filled the morning air. Max's tail began to wag, a soft, happy rhythm against the floor. This is the story of a dog who loved a baby before he could even speak. Their journey was just beginning, but their connection was already timeless. A beautiful testament to a love that knows no words.